I was literally just watching that video before you called me, feeling extremely excited. And as soon as we hang up here, I have to get on the phone with my travel agent to make my travel plans for Egypt, because I'm told that's the best place to go right now. The summer is over. The season has begun. Rodgers is back. He's been healthy since December, and we are ready to go.
Okay, I heard you say this morning there's no more vice president potential. There's no more trips to Egypt.
Well, so here's my one concern, McAfee. You need to talk to him. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, vice president became an option again. We almost had that one. We
I don't think that party's going to pick Aaron.
Probably not. Seems unlikely. So that's one last hurdle we have to jump. But assuming we get past that one, then now he should just be full go football, and I am as ready for it as a person can possibly be.
Okay, I talked about the things that you were saying last year as we were going into this Aaron Rodgers New York Jets experience. He can have a penthouse. I'll cut off my penis. I don't need to do anything. I can go blind. Yep. You
swear on air.
You'll swear on air.
I may have intimated that I would. I don't know that I actually said that one, but okay. Let's, for the sake of this discussion, let's say I would go an awful long way to see the Jets finally win a Super Bowl.
Okay, perfect. Good. So you just confirmed it. Sources close to the situation confirmed that he would cut off his situation to get the situation for the Jets to be one where there's a Lombardi involved. But whenever we talk about where you were last year versus where you are this year, and it was very evident throughout the year, seemingly Jets and Jets fans were just being forced to, hey, we're punting this year. We're going to try to rebottle what we had going into this year and do it again next year. Is that how you feel? Because I think that's how Aaron's mindset is like, hey, everything it was supposed to be last year, it's going to be this year. Is that how you feel? And how do you feel about the expectations? Connor, who's a Patriots fan, picked the Jets to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's.
Oh, Connor, you are singing my song. Look, the Jets offseason began on the fifth play from scrimmage last year. That's the reality of the situation. Any expectation, any reasonable expectation of success last year went down with Aaron. And that's not a knock to most of the teams of the NFL, that you're built or quarterback. The Jets completely built their team around Aaron last year, and he got unbelievably unlucky. It happens. Now the time has come for where the offseason can finally or can end and the new season can begin. And I think, if anything, the expectations are higher. The real question, and I think this is legit, and AJ, I don't know if you would chime in on this or anybody, he is 40 years old and he is coming off a serious injury. I mean, that is a real thing. But assuming, as I agree with you, he's flipping the helmet, he looks good. I know he says he feels great. He worked like crazy to come back. Assuming that he is 80% of what he was at his apex. I mean, the Jets are a much better roster than they were at this time last year. They had they would have had a bad offensive line last year, even if Rodgers had been their quarterback. He could have covered up some of it. He couldn't have covered up all of it. The addition of not only on the offensive line, but of Mike Williams at wide receiver, of Davante Adams, who I already consider a Jet. By the way, I already consider Davante Adams a Jet. As far as I'm concerned, we already have him. The addition of Hassan Reddick.
He's not a Jet. You got two. You just said two guys that are not in the building.
Listen. I will anything you want to wager. I will wager that Davante Adams is a Jet by Halloween, and Hassan Reddick starts the season week 1 in San Francisco.
You say fuck on Get Up, and I'll wear a suit for an entire day.
I can't give you that one because.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Say yes.
I can't get away with all the stuff you can get away with.
Yes, you can. That's what you need.
Greeny.
What color are the bottoms of your shoes, Greeny? I think you can.
Yeah, you got those red bottoms walking into every single set that you got. You can do whatever the hell you want. What are they going to do? Take you out of the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, we got him working here today.
Getting dirty?
Is it a day of the week that ends in Y?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we get it, obviously, Greeny. That's the deal, though. I think that should be the deal.
No, that's not the deal. We'll make a different deal. But Davante,
he said, "I'll bet anything." Isn't that what he said?
I mean, him wearing a tank top for an entire.
Tank top.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll do. I will dress as McAfee for an entire show. Okay. In fact, I'd love to have some of your guys come up and do the show, and we'll just do it in McAfee style.
Okay, an invasion. Okay, so we will invade, but you will have to host it, though still. Like, you will still have to do it.
Got to be NWO-style invasion, too.
Yeah, yes,
flip
absolutely.
The tables.
Okay, good. So that's, and then what, if it does happen, like...
And Reddick will be there. Reddick will be there. The Jets are going to have...
Sweet.
What makes you so confident in that, Greeny?
Because both sides need each other. Like there's a theorem called Occam's razor, which is that the most likely explanation for anything is usually the explanation. Hassan Reddick needs to get paid, and the New York Jets need him. It will be so humiliating for the Jets to have traded for a player that everyone knew was holding out because he needed a new contract, and then not get him into camp. This won't last long. They have to get him in. Look, the Jets are more all in on one season than I think any team I can ever think of has ever been in any sport. So the idea that they will let any future consideration, whatever it might do to a salary cap at any other point or any other consideration, detract from their chances this year would make no sense. It would be inconsistent with everything they've done. Reddick will be there. I don't know how soon, but before the season starts. And I really do believe that unless the Raiders stun the world and start winning games early in the season, that Rodgers and the Jets start well, which I believe we will, that I believe it just makes sense, guys. It just makes sense for Davante Adams to come to the Jets.
Yeah, if you're a Jets fan, it certainly makes sense. Of course. It certainly makes sense for that to take place. Davante
and Max. It makes sense to Aaron. It makes sense to Adams. I think it makes sense to... It might make sense for the Raiders, just get some draft picks, whatever it is. I think it would make – there's just too many reasons why I think it should happen. The Jets should be as aggressive as any team in trying to make that move because there's nowhere that Adams could step right into in the middle of the season and make a bigger impact than he could for the Jets with Rodgers.
Okay, well, hopefully that comes to fruition because none of us want to travel to New York. Because if it doesn't happen, then we got to go. Then we got to go to New York, and we get an opportunity to work alongside you. Obviously, expectations are when
you guys come to New York. Stace and I are Dahn to take all of you out for dinner. You know she loves you, so you guys come. Anybody who wants to come, you come. You come. Bring the show.
You're buying us all shoes.
A little dinner.
You're buying us all shoes.
You want some shoes? We can throw some. If we can get a shoe deal involved in this, we'll work it out one way or another.
Okay, all right.
Make it happen.
I hope Davante. Hey, good luck out there, Davante. Yeah, now, Davante told Max Crosby, twin flame. They feel like they're same spirits, and they're there to build the Raiders. Like, that is how they feel. So if he was to get traded, that would obviously be a massive message from Tom Telesco, the new general manager for the Raiders going forward, especially with everything they have cooking and everything we saw in receiver last year. That I think helps spur all of these conversations that are taking place. Connor's got a question for you, Greeny.
Yeah, Greeny, the other team in that dump, the Giants, are on the Hard Knocks this offseason. It's kind of the first time they've done this entire thing with just the front office and Dayball going through all the draft process. What are the vibes out of New York City around this? Are the headlines on the newspapers talking about them being smart? Is it more so talking about them looking like doofuses? What are they saying in New York City about the Giants right now?
I think generally vibes are fairly low. I think the Giants are definitively the fourth best team in a four-team division. I think Washington is going to surprise a lot of people. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be the rookie of the year. Ooh. I think he's going to play really well. I think that there's a real chance that they go out and trade for Brandon Ayuk. I think Daniels would love it. I think Ayuk would love it. I think it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. I think the Commanders could be a fringe playoff team this year. The Cowboys, I think, will take a step back because they just will. They haven't gotten any better and probably gotten a little worse. I think the Eagles are going to be much better. So I think no matter what happens, the Giants are the worst team in their division. I think they will start all over again next year with a new quarterback. And the question is, will it be with a new coach? Maybe the one who will be on your show all football season long.
Oh, you're talking about old Bill Belichick.
Worse than the commies?
What? Jeez, Jaden Daniels said,
just again. Come on.
Yeah, that's a Giants fan right there. And he's the only one we get to read whenever things around the Giants happen. So I think that's why Connor asked you what the gauge is around there. Because the access that we're getting from this Hard Knocks is absurd. It is. I would not want the Colts to do that. I would not want the Colts to do that show ever. But I love that they're doing the show, Greeny. It's kind of like a double-edged sword in this entire thing.
Look, I mean, every year someone has to do it. Last year it was the Jets. And it was And I loved it. I loved seeing all the insight and all that kind of stuff. That said, I'm so much happier with my team flying as far under the radar as possible in the preseason. So, yes, I agree. You don't want your team getting involved.
Let's talk about under the radar and your team. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Greeny. So recently Rodgers basically said, hey, all the stuff between me and Saleh has kind of been overblown. At this point, I'm here. Nothing but positivity and good vibes between us. Do you buy that, considering Saleh is the one who kind of made this whole thing a bigger deal than it needed to be? And ultimately, does it even matter? Because if they don't perform well and they start slow, obviously the cracks are going to start to show. But if they do play as well as you think they're going to, like, these guys can hate each other and still coexist, right? Do you think it's a big deal or no?
I don't like the way it went. Did you guys see how Mike Tomlin handled the question yesterday about how he's going to handle the practice reps for his two quarterbacks? That was like a TED Talk. That was like a master class in shutting down something that could be something and instead making it nothing. Robert Saleh does the opposite of that all the time. When Aaron said yesterday this was more outside the building than inside, it was more media creation, that really isn't true. It was Robert Saleh who made this something. Now, what is the relationship between the two of them? I don't know. I have no idea. Aaron Rodgers is infinitely more important to the success of that team and this season than Robert Saleh is. Aaron Rodgers basically is going to be in charge of the offense. Saleh, I guess, will be in charge of the defense and occasionally deciding whether or not to go for two. But I would let Aaron make those decisions anyway. I have infinitely more confidence in him than I have in Saleh. I don't have a real good sense of what their relationship is. I think Aaron, look, you guys know Aaron way better than I do. I have a hard time picturing that even he, who's willing to speak his mind more than almost anyone, would say, yeah, I'm really pissed off at Saleh for turning this into a thing. And he and I are kind of on the outs right now. So I don't know what their relationship is, but I'll fall back on the last thing you said, which is it probably doesn't matter. If they win, then it won't make any difference. And if they lose, everyone, starting with the coach, is going to be out of there anyway.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that they're all aligned. Like, hey, if we don't win, we're all fired.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody feels that. Fans feel that way. Media feels that way. Feels like every coach knows that as they're walking in. All right, let's make this not our last training camp here. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. That's some good motivation, especially for a 40-year-old quarterback coming back from injury. And you brought that up earlier. I don't think that's anything. With what AJ says, he's in, like, phenomenal shape, like just absolutely. And what's the way science is right now and everything he was doing, sometimes those rehab and recoveries can make you in the best shape of your life because you're working on everything every day. You're forced to work every single day, maybe when you wouldn't do it. So I'm very excited to watch it. Early reports out of camp, Greeny. Hey, we're spinning it. We're dialing it up. Every time you see one of those videos, you got to just that thing wakes up. That thing wakes up.
Oh, yeah. He'll be able to do that when he's 70, right? I mean, there was something. Vinny Testaverde could still do that, right? But he's got the kind of arm that that's just a God-given gift. He needs to. We need to see him get hit. Like Brian Clark said it well, I thought, on Get Up on Monday. He said the Jets need to treat Aaron Rodgers like he's a lit candle and we have no more matches. Like, we must not allow anyone to breathe near him. We cannot have him touched. We need him safe. We need him in bubble wrap. And assuming that he stays healthy, I think there's every reason to think that the Jets are going to have a real shot. He said it right. There are like 8 teams that have a shot at this thing, and the Jets are one of them.
Aaron's going to want to take a hit, though.
Football guy.
Yeah, he's an old school football guy. That's get lost in the entire thing. We're undoing the chin strap every single time. We're fighting for extra yards when we shouldn't. Yeah. Like, hey, you're already in Hall of Fame, buddy. Mm-hmm. We are A-okay. He just has to prove to himself he still got it or whatever. It's like, I'm excited to see those.
Look, let's give him credit for this, too. I don't mean to interrupt, but I was thinking about this the other day. A lot of people have rightfully given Russell Wilson a lot of credit, saying he could have gotten paid $39 million just to not play at all. He's showing that he loves football by coming back. And I agree with that. I think that there is validity to that. I think the same thing can be said of Rodgers. I'm not counting his money, but he's got to have $300 million. He is 39 years old and suffered the
business. You got to think he's got a brain. Business. He's very wealthy.
So whatever. He has infinitely more money than he is going to need for the rest of his life. He suffered the kind of injury that can end a career that you have to work yourself to death the way you just described to come back from. You have to want it that badly. I think he has demonstrated through this just how much it means to him. People can say about him whatever they want. He says a lot of things that makes people mad. That's fine. That's their business. It's not mine. But what I'm saying is he has demonstrated through this process how much this means to him. And I think that is important because I think sometimes that gets lost in the midst of all of the craziness that comes with a person who is as outspoken as he is, especially in a place like New York. What gets lost in all of this is he has demonstrated by coming back when he did not have to a franchise that he owed nothing. By fighting his way back like this, I think he has demonstrated how much this means to him, and I think that also bodes really well.
Yeah, and to kind of add on, I think takes a fine, loses money, and it's like, whatever. All right, we will move on for the whole story of it, and that's because could you imagine if this 40-year-old comes off an Achilles, 4-time MVP winner, goes to a team that hasn't won in a long time, wins, brings an entire title back to a city of fans that have been looking for it for a while. That story is one that I think Aaron is like, that would be sweet for the good of football.
Yeah.
For the good of football, it would be.
I can't think of a better way for him to write the final chapter of his career. John Elway was the first Hall of Fame quarterback ever to win the Super Bowl in his final game, and Rodgers would have the opportunity to do the same thing. And I also think there is, look, Aaron Rodgers' legend, wrong. His place in history is cemented to the extent that if he never played another snap, he's one of the greatest players that ever lived. There's no question.
First ballot, got it.
So his legacy is, first ballot doesn't even tell the story. He's in like the little room. Like there are different rooms in the Hall of Fame. He's in the little room with the really special ones. That said, I do think that his legacy can be enhanced. It can't be diminished. He's accomplished too much for it to be diminished. If he has a terrible season and the Jets lose, he remains one of the greatest players of all time. But if he should do what you just described, then I think his legacy can be significantly enhanced. That's our job, right? That's what people like us do. We tell those stories. We put these things into perspective. And I think it is reasonable to say that Rodgers, look, count on your fingers the numbers of quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls with two different franchises, okay? You're not going to get very far. So he would have an opportunity to add his name to that list. It's Brady and Manning. He would have his opportunity to add his name to that list. He would have an opportunity to lift, as you just said, the Jets, who have not won in half a century. The Jets last won the Super Bowl. I was 1 year old, McAfee. Jeez. Look how old I am.
No, you're young, Brady. You're young. You lotion. You look great.
That's money don't crack. But I'm telling you right now, I'm old. I'm old, and I was one the last time this team played in the Super Bowl. So I think that there is that at stake for Rodgers here. I think his legacy can be enhanced significantly, and he strikes me as a guy, and you know him way better than I do. I think he strikes me as a guy who will act like that doesn't matter to him, but I think it does matter to him down deep inside. I don't know why it wouldn't matter to anyone.
No, he loves football. He loves football, loves the history of football. Like, he is big football guy, like loves the sport, loves the game. So he understands what's on the line for a franchise that hasn't had in half a century since Mike Greenberg's been 1 year old. That's like 27 years ago.
Yeah.
27 years ago. That's phenomenal.
I only wish.
Grinny, and you talked about something, and Moz did on your show the other day as well, about how many interviews and how outspoken he is and everything like that. He didn't talk for like 14 years, and people buried him for a long time. There's a lot of narratives built about Aaron, and he never responded. I'm going to kill him with indifference or something, is what he said. I'm going to kill him with indifference, just never respond to anything. So then once he finally started answering things and answering stuff about him, obviously it went against a lot of the narratives that were potentially built about him for over a decade and a half, and then that becomes like a big thing. So I will say outspoken, certainly now. Wasn't like that for Aaron for a long time. He just sat and took it on the shins by a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life for a long time about shit that I think he views not real or true. So, like, you know, I get it, he didn't get vaccinated, but also, like, he is also a human who didn't talk for 14 years or so about a lot of. So I appreciate where he's at. He's very comfortable, which also I think leads to him being an even better quarterback. Like, he's the most comfortable he's ever been being himself. It's like, I think that's good news, not bad news the other way around.